My presentation is quite different from the rest because this morning I have to tell you a story on how the local government unit officials utilized our resources also biodiversity to make an ordinance and declare our research sites as local conservation area as well as ecotourism. And I believe that this is for students and for policymakers. Um, but before the presentation, I have to show again what was projected by Yongyot yesterday about mega-diversity countries. Because the Philippines is one of the mega-diversity country, and it means that these 17 countries claim two-thirds of the world's biological resources, plants and animals, and 80% of the most endangered flora and fauna is also found within the borders of these 17 countries. And that's it working. There are the Philippines. And we consider the Philippines as a mega diverse country because it has a high diversity of ecosystems. And there's a high species richness. We have how many species there? 15,117 species of flora and fauna. And these are distributed across the archipelago of the Philippines, Luzon, besides Mindanao. And there's a high degree of endemism. 50% of our flora and fauna would be endemic to our country. And I would say that the Philippines is not only a mega diverse country, but it is also one of the hottest of the hotspots. Why? Because there is an alarming rate of forest destruction. Thus, we have lost 97% of our natural forest because of the anthropogenic activities which are destructive. The Philippines has three groups of islands. The northern part is Luzon, that's the one, and we have the middle group islands, the Visayas, and the southernmost part of the Philippines archipelago is Mindanao, where I live, and I did research for several years in that southernmost part of the Philippines, Mindanao. And today, I have to focus my discussion on our two research sites. The one site is located in the northern part of Mindanao, that's the Mount Agad-Agad, and the southernmost part is Marilog Forest. Okay? So I will focus my discussion on these two sites, just to elucidate how policymakers made use of our research on biodiversity. So that my discussion, focus of my presentation will be how to harness the results of our biodiversity research for policy. It's good for policymakers as well, for local conservation, or in short SA, and for ecotourism. And there, one of the mountains that we have explored is Mount Agad-Agad, as I mentioned, that is situated in the northern part of Mindanao, is one, and in the southern part of Mount Manambo. So you focus your attention on these two, because I have to tell a story on how the research results were used by the policymakers. Well, we have this here, this Mount Agad. I said the northern part of Mindanao, and this is the view of the forest of that mountain, Mount Agad. That mountain with the forest, of course, it provides fresh air and free oxygen. And young and old folks would like to walk and climb Mount Agad to enjoy nature. And some of them will stay overnight. Why? Because they would like to see the glittering lights of the city of Iligan. And during daytime, that's the panoramic view of the city of Iligan, where Mount Agad-Agad is situated. For that reason, the officials the village officials as well as city officials would like to develop Mount Agad as an ecotourism site. But they also said that, well, not only that it should be developed as an ecotourism site, but it should be developed as a local conservation area. But the problem is that there's a knowledge gap. There's no information about the flora and fauna in the area, and therefore we implemented this research. Okay, and while we have these simple objectives of the research, that we would like to know the number and kind of species of plants and animals in Mount Agad, or in other words, the species richness. And since we have explored several sites, we also wanted to know which of the sites has highest diversity value. And we did assessment of the status of the species, whether the species is critically endangered, vulnerable, or endemic. That's the assessment part. And we implemented several capacity building activities for the stakeholders and for the officials of the city as well as of the village. Well, if we implement research on biodiversity in the Philippines, we have to follow the right protocol. And we have to obtain the wildlife permit from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. We have to secure the prior informed consent from the stakeholders, from the officials. We have to present our proposal, our research to them, and we had that memorandum of agreement with the officials of the city as well of the municipality. And it was only then that we're allowed to do the sampling techniques. The approach is participatory, that we have to involve the local people in the area as our local counterpart, as local researchers. And also, I mentioned that we implemented several capacity building activities to empower not only the officials but also the local stakeholders. And so that is how nice is participatory research used in the research. Well, we have something for animals, for fauna. We established several traps and nets and did the morphometrics. And the method is capture and release method for the study of the fauna. Likewise, for the flora, we did the search of plastic walk, collected samples for taxonomic identification, and also for the preparation of herbarium specimens. I said involving the selected stakeholders. Here is a site. It's Mount Agad, and we had sampling in 3 sites. One site is here in site Lagilanon. So we walk from the base to the summit of the mountain. There's a series of transit walk from one side to the other side, another side, and the third side in site Ribolo, to really explore the flora and fauna present in Mount Agad. Sound. Hello. Okay, so for this method, series of transit walk, we were able to document the richness of the species of flora and fauna in Mount Agad. And there, total number of species, we documented 712 species of flora and fauna. And if you'd like to ask per taxon, we have also the data for the flowering plants, for the birds and lichophytes, as well as for mammals down to the invertebrates. So we really have accounted this number of species. Well, we have to go back to this because this is important. So what if we have this number of species, 712 species? What is important is to assess its conservation status, whether species are threatened or endemic, so that we have 30 species considered to be threatened and 100 species endemic to our country. So that is the assessment that we made, and then just an example to show for the plants, for example, here. 14 species all in all in Matagal. But out of this number, we have 44 species endemic and 20 species threatened. I'm just illustrating some examples of the endemic and threatened species. We have this critical endangered species, stubborn fern, that's middle endemic, and all others are also endemic species. Just examples of endemic and threatened species found in Mount Agalagal. For fauna, we have here bats, for example, silver bats, 10 species of bats, and 3 species are endemic to our country. And so we have here some examples, 3 endemic species of bats. And for rodents, only 3 species, but 1 is endemic to our country. And we have this, the first Tratus severity as one of the endemic species of rodent. For birds, so many birds, 65 species, and of that number, 19 species are endemic to our country, and 3 are threatened. And I'm showing the 5 species considered to be endemic. For frogs, 11 species of frogs, and of this number, 5 species are endemic to our country, and we have the Philippine endemic there, 4 species of the 5 shown as examples. But I have to emphasize the Mindanao endemic. It means that this species is found only in the island of Mindanao, not found in Visayas, not found in Luzon Island. And for lizards, there's high endemism. In fact, 50% of the species considered to be endemic. Out of 16, each species are endemic or considered. There's at least 50% endemism for lizards. And you have also the middle endemic there, and the rest are Philippine endemic. And for snakes, we also have an expert on snakes or herpetologist, and our expert has identified 12 species, and out of these 12 species, 50% of this, or 6 species, endemic to our country. So that is how the endemism for the herps is quite high as compared to the other taxa. For the invertebrates, so we have the insects, 270 species, 36 species of which are endemic, and 7 species are threatened. And we have showing here the 3 Mindanao endemic species of insects. 2 are the pygmy grasshoppers, and the weevil. This is also Mindanao endemic. Now, that's all the assessment for the endemism, the species, and we wanted to know also which of the sites would be having the high diversity value. And we found that this site had the highest diversity value because, there's several microhabitats and there are several trees in the area, and that would partly explain the high diversity for this site. Our research really has to involve stakeholders because after all, the results should be used by them, by the stakeholders as well as by the policymakers. And so we have trained this number, many local researchers have been trained as local researchers. We did the training on how to monitor biodiversity, ecotourism workshop. We also had a workshop on how to propagate plants, particularly the ornamental species, and raising of the butterfly, and utilization of the underutilized palm, kaong, or aringa pinata, involving again, this is underutilized just like this one. Sin is abundantly in the place. While doing transit walk, repeated transit walk, we have found this palm, Aringa pinata, under yet this palm, to talk probably slow. This palm is underutilized, so abundant, but not used by them. So we train them on how to utilize the fruits of Aringa pinata, locally known as kaong. And so they have produced the processed organic kaong. So it's one of the ways to have livelihood for the stakeholders. And well, we also have trained them on how to establish the nursery. The stakeholders collected with us. We collected the seeds, wildlings, put them in nursery for reforestation activity as well as for assisted natural regeneration to well enhance biodiversity in the area. And also, well, they have propagated some ornamental plants there to be sold in the future as another income. And to enhance the awareness on biodiversity of the stakeholders, we have generated this communication, education, public awareness materials. These were distributed and distributed to them, and we also assisted them on the putting up of the signages again to let the tourists or the climbers know about the biodiversity in Mount Agadagat. So we from the base to the summit, we have the signages established with them. And what is very important about this is that all our aim is not well at the start not to be utilized as for us for publication, scientific publication, but the effectiveness of the research would be measured by the utilization of the policymakers for research. And this is one example of how the data or information is being utilized by the officials. Here, we have helped them organize a council. The council is the policy and management body of Mount Agadagat. It did not exist before our research. So we help them, and it's being shared by the mayor of the city of Iligan, and it's functional, and also Aribus is a member of this council. Likewise, we have the council as an association. The local stakeholders, the people around Mount Agadagat, also form an association. Well, that's the Mount Agadagat Ecotourism and Biodiversity Association, MAIBA. Okay, so at least they have organized themselves and told them to prepare a proposal for them to get some funding to implement some of their projects. We also presented some policy recommendations. With researchers, we just recommend. We are not the policy makers. We present this to the policy makers for them to translate these policy recommendations into an ordinance or resolution. And aside from the policy recommendations, we also prepared a policy brief distributed to the officials of the village as well as to DNR and other officials of the department. With that, the results of our research were used to have the barangay or village resolution. One barangay, one village had this resolution, another one has another resolution attaching the findings of our research. And eventually, it was forwarded to the city to have the city ordinance, and there was 3 hearings. Eventually, it has been declared, Mount Agadagat has been declared as a local conservation area, as well as an ecotourism site. And this is very important because the officials now would allocate some funds for the maintenance and development of Mount Agadagat. And so that is the advantage if there's that city ordinance. Well, I'm showing my patient there, holding this lycophyte. Is a presumed extinct lycophyte. The last collection was in 1969, and before our research has ended, we found it. We discovered that Isoetes philippinensis, the only species in the Philippines, and only found in that place, headwaters in a river, submerged, and is found nowhere else in the world. So this is one of the priority areas for protection and conservation. It's submerged 2 meters deep in the river. So it's very unusual lycophyte. So that's the first story. But the second story would be quick because would like to compare the Matagat and the next course, the Marino, because this one has the highest altitude. Matagat is just 500 meters above sea level. This one is 1,200 meters above sea level. Higher, it's cooler, and therefore it is frequently visited by tourists. And people will be there just to enjoy the nature. And this is one of the sites considered by Conservation International as one of the sites for protection. And this has also the diversity, high diversity. Well, this is high diversity, but we have encountered some problems. Destructive anthropogenic activities like the overcollection of the trunk of the tree ferns for handicraft, ornamental plants collected, overcollection of that. At the middle of the forest, they cut trees and for charcoal making. And there's that mushrooming of the rest houses inside the forest. And so these are some of the destructive activities. And the forest land is converted into agricultural land to give way for high value crops like broccoli and other high value crops. And therefore, our research would like to save this endangered or threatened marine forest. That's why we implemented this research. Just what we did in the earlier ecosystem, but this one we have established so many sites here, 5 sites, and there, 5 sites. And please take note Mount Malambo over there, because that is an important site for the priority of the protection and conservation. So we did the series of plastic wall, established the 20 by 20 meter plot, and business and other crops, just to explore and to know how research species of plants and animals in marine forest. There, that's of course it has a higher number of species of flora and fauna, 1,490 species, and we have this richness of flora and fauna per taxon. And what is important for the threatened and endangered species, which we should consider as priority species for conservation and protection. These are some examples of endangered species of ferns and lycophytes. 29 species threatened and 13 species endemic. And I'd like to emphasize the ornamental but critically endangered Hoppersia. And the flowering plants. Here we have 261 species, 50 species threatened, 14 species are endemic. And here we have the parasitic Ballonophora. So this is quite important for protection, and other species considered to be threatened. And here, this is another parasitic flowering plant, a new record in the Philippines. So we have 2 parasitic plants, though we have the famous Rafflesia in the Philippines, but we have also these important parasitic plants. There, I have to emphasize the the Tasimon in there, Nofora, and the critically endangered of Persia, Mount Shana. And okay, these are the risks of the vertebrates. Today, the species of mammals, 100 species of birds, and 30 species of herbs. And we did assessment again for all the species which we have collected and identified. Well, that's the endangered Philippine hawk eagle. And for the invertebrates, 61 butterflies, there are so many of the grasshoppers, but we have the important species for protection and conservation. Our new species of the pygmy, the so-called pygmy grasshopper, Ticotitix reggae, named after our university president. And I again emphasize the new record of Mr. Stemon and the Plagiostakis, that's Segiber, ginger family. Well, what is important, if this research is not only for us, we have to capacitate, we have to empower the stakeholders as our partners to develop and protect the remaining biodiversity in the area. So we had several workshops, and I think I would remember President Troy was one of our resource persons there when he discussed about ecotourism. And also, we have the nursery for the economically important species. And again, we helped them with them, collected some seeds or alums from the forest, nurtured them in the greenhouse, and used that again for reforestation and assisted natural regeneration. And we have the butterfly house. There are expert entomologists in our team, and that's one of the what should be showcased by them for ecotourism. And here we have the Capitan, the head of the village. We turned over the butterfly house to them, and we have that memorandum of agreement with the officials, because after the end of our research, they have to maintain and improve the butterfly house as well as other resources that we try to establish and help them. What is important when we do research in biodiversity, it should not be only for publication and you get the promotion, the academic promotion from instructor as a professor, as I say, the photographer. That was, well, when I was younger, I was also like that, just thinking just to publish, to research and publish. But it's not a good research if the results of the research will not be utilized by the stakeholders, by the officials. Okay? And therefore, it is important that also whatever knowledge, information are gathered from the stakeholders, it should be returned to them, and in a form of community validation. And it is also one way of also disseminating this communication, education, and public awareness materials to them, not to enhance the understanding about biodiversity in the area. And there we have disseminated this, we call it in short, SEPA. And this one, okay, this is now of the 5 sites which have made inventory. Site 2, Mount Manambo, has been designated as a local conservation area through a village resolution. Again, with the support of our documents, information, gave that to them as support to declare Mount Manambo as a local conservation area. Because before, the barangay village officials would have the resolution without any supporting documents. In other words, before not science-based or research-based, but this time they're having the resolutions, the ordinances, and it's based on science or it's research-based. resolutions or ordinance. Okay, so that's my concluding remarks that Mount Alagad and our forest been declared as local conservation areas as well as ecotourism site using the results of our research. Okay, and so there's the utilization, and also for this project, my God, we were able to produce this book showcasing the biodiversity, plant fauna of Mount Alagad. Well, I have to end my presentation. Do I have any time? I think we obtained budget from the former congressman and give us the budget to implement this research. And the aim is for us to declare the site as local conservation area. And instead, my colleague, my co-researchers in here, Dr. Pojin is there, and local researchers, and there's a face of the congressman and the collaborating institutions. Without them, we would not be able to achieve the objectives of our research conducted in these two mountains in the island of Mindanao. Thank you.